Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I am doing a hypothetical 2028 presidential election prediction, and I want to do this video because we saw in recent days President Trump's approval rating has gone up a lot in the last few days or so. He was down to 5.4% negative, now all the way up to only -2. So Trump's approval rating in recent days has certainly been getting better, and I thought it'd be interesting to do an election scenario for 2028 where Trump's approval rating is around 47% come election day. And mind you, just to give you a basis point of where this would be, according to the RCP polling average on November 2nd, Trump was actually elected with an approval rating around 45.3%. So this is actually about 2 points higher than where Trump ended up getting on Election Day 2024. This scenario, I'm using JD Pritzker as the Democratic nominee, the governor of Illinois, and JD Vance, the vice president of the state of Ohio. I think this is an interesting matchup, and let's see how it all goes. So for some states that I have as safe for Pritzker and Vance, I have the states of Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii, all being 15 points or over. I think with Pritzker at the top of the ticket, Illinois will be a safe Democratic state. DC, Maryland, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Delaware, Connecticut, Vermont, New York, and Maine's 1st Congressional District, I expect to all be around a safe Democratic margin. For JD Vance, I expect him to win some states in the safe Republican column. All these states I'm currently filling in red. Kansas, Oklahoma. I think Nebraska's 1st district may be safe, may be likely, but I think it starts out as safe. Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, and South Carolina. This puts Vance up to 122. Now we have the states that I think go in the likely column. These are states that are on the closer end to being safe to likely. States that were right around likely and safe in 2024, but I think will remain just a bit under 15% margin of victory. The first state I have is the state of Colorado. I expect Colorado to be around another 11 to 12 point win for JB Pritzker, so I'm adding Colorado to the likely Democratic category at this stage. And I think that's all the upper 10% Democratic states at this point for Pritzker. On the Republican side of things, the states of Alaska, Texas, Florida, I expect all will be likely Republican states, as well as Iowa and Ohio. These states were also right around a 10% Republican likely win in 2024, and I think they'll be so yet again. Now we have the likely Democratic states that will go Democratic or Republican that I think are going to be under 10% of the vote in this election matchup. The first one I have for JB Pritzker is Maine's 2nd Congressional District, Maine at large. Maine, the state at large, voted for Kamala Harris by about 7 points in 2024. Maine's 2nd voted for Trump by about 9 points. I think JD Vance, being the Republican nominee, will improve on independent voters a little bit than Donald Trump did, but I think he may also do a little bit worse with Republican turnout. But I think in this election matchup where Trump's approvals are doing well, it won't affect Vance too much, where I think he'll still win Maine's 2nd district in the likely Republican column. The state of Virginia and its 13 electoral votes, it was a likely Democratic win in 2024, a 5.8% win for Harris over Trump. I think Pritzker versus Vance will probably be around a similar result, maybe about 5.5% or so. New Jersey, another 5.9% win for Harris over Trump. I think for Pritzker versus Vance, again, I think New Jersey starts right around that 5-point win. Could go under 5 points, but I think Pritzker probably wouldn't get blown out in this election. I think he would do probably pretty similar to Kamala Harris, but I also think Pritzker could get some likely states in Virginia and New Jersey as well. Speaking of New Mexico, though, it's 5 electoral votes. I do think Pritzker would also win. It was a 6-point win for Kamala Harris. Even in this scenario, where this is probably one of the better scenarios for the Republicans with Trump's approval rating being at 47%, I don't think New Mexico is going to drop below a 5-point win for the Democrats. I think they'll still hold the state by over 5 points. This puts Pritzker at 211, Vance at 219, and I think that's going to be just about it actually, no, I do have a few more now I think about it. Nebraska's 2nd district, I do expect will become a likely Democratic win. It voted for Harris by 4.7% in 2024 and certainly trending in the Democratic direction as well. The state of Arizona voted for Donald Trump by 5.5% over Kamala Harris in 2024. Will that happen again in 2028? It remains to be seen. It'll be 4 years of population growth in the Phoenix area, though from 2020 to 2024, it seems that did benefit the Republicans, but I'm erring on the side of caution and putting Arizona into the lean Republican column at this time. This puts Vance up to 230. Pritzker's at 212. The state of Minnesota, I'm going to put as lean Democrat for right now. It voted for Kamala Harris by about 4.2%. I think it would be a pretty similar matchup in this regard, that I think Vance would lose the state to Pritzker by about 4.2%. This puts Pritzker up to 222. The state of Nevada, I do think Nevada, with no tax on tips currently being voted on the U.S. Senate right now, I do think the Republicans have made some very significant gains in Nevada. Trump won it by 3.1. I wouldn't be shocked if Vance only won it by about 1.5 or so if he loses some support here, but I do think Vance will hold on and win the state of Nevada. As for the state of Georgia, I expect to be very close come 2028. I do think we're going to see a continued shift to the Democratic direction, but I do think JD Vance holds the state, but it went for Trump by 2.2% in 2024. But it is worth noting that when you look at the margins, it did shift a little bit blue surrounding the suburbs of Cobb County. And you go back to 2016, all the areas surrounding have shifted towards the Democratic side. So I am going to be putting Georgia in the tilt Republican column for JD Vance over JB Pritzker, but I do think it is going to narrow up very, very much. North Carolina and its 16 electoral votes, will put in the lean Republican column for JD Vance. It was a 3.2% win for Trump over Harris. Again, in the scenario where Trump's approval rating is around 47%, I think we see Vance hold these battleground states that Trump was able to win in 2024. The question will be, can Vance expand the map at all from 2024? That's going to be a little bit tough. The state of New Hampshire, New Hampshire voted for Kamala Harris by about 2.8%. I don't know if JD Vance will be able to beat JB Pritzker in the state because it did vote for Harris by 3 points. Even with Trump's approval of 47%, I don't think Vance is going to be able to do as well. In a state like New Hampshire, I think it'll be about a 2-point win for Pritzker over Vance. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, I think this will once again decide the election. I do think the state of Pennsylvania will vote for JD Vance over JB Pritzker. I don't think Pritzker is the right type of Democrat to try and win the state of Pennsylvania, and I think JD Vance will be able to carry it by similar percentages to Donald Trump in 2024. Trump won it by 1.7 in 2024. Vance I have winning by about 1.5. Michigan voted for Trump by about 1.4% in 2024. Again, I don't think Vance will do as well in the Rust Belt, so I do think Michigan will go below 1% of the vote, but I do think JD Vance will be able to win the state of Michigan. And lastly, the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin voted by 0.86% for Trump versus Harris. I think for Vance versus Pritzker in this scenario, I have it going by about 0.4% for JD Vance. So I think the Rust Belt will vote in unison again. I think this election between Vance versus Pritzker come 2028, if Trump's approval rating is around 47%, I think that would mean Trump and the Trump administration would be doing very well, and Americans would be liking the job they'd be doing if that is the scenario. And this election would essentially basically be the 2024 election all over again, but maybe with a little bit less Republican turnout in some of the key battleground states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, and maybe in Pennsylvania. I think JD Vance would still win these states, but I think the margins of victory in these states would be slightly smaller than 2024. But I'm interested to hear what you think about this video. In this election scenario, who do you think would win between JD Vance or JB Pritzker? Leave a comment below telling me your thoughts. If you disagree, I'd like to hear why. Leave it out in the comments. I can't wait to check all that out. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to hit like and subscribe, and hope to see you in a future video.